Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic, and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school, has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
What's up? Welcome to Little Williams and Blum. Sunday, the 12th January. My name is Chris Williams. I'm joined as always by Brent Blum in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Well, English bringing us in. We are presented by our friends at Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation. Shout out to all of our good friends at Mechdyne. Kind of fun. We've developed a lot of good friendships at that company over the years. We appreciate them. I was trying to abrupt stop. Here we go.
It's time!
One more time.
It's time!
We need to do a little. Well, we're going to do a little editing and put Bruce Buffer within English.
Okay.
We have the capabilities to do that. We just need to remember to do it, and I'm going to do that because I would like to incorporate Bruce Buffer into the intro of the show from here on out.
I got a prescription, and the only
fever.
The only whatever. I got a fever.
I got a fever, and the only prescription
is more Buffer.
Is more Bruce Buffer and yakety sax. Pour yourselves a glass of smooth Cody Road bourbon tonight for the program.
I had one of those last night after that W.
Your soon-to-be second-ranked varsity men's basketball program at the Iowa State University with a huge win at Texas Tech. I'm not even going to lie to you. I thought they were going to lose. Before the game. This was just like, told you my thoughts on Wednesday with the line. It was all stanky, just like we thought it would be. Vegas had a bad day. They set us up with Kansas and Iowa State. Iowa State and Kansas both go on to win. And that would have been like a traditional, this parlay those two teams to lose. The way that Kansas was only a 1-point favorite at Cincinnati, who was 0-3. Texas Tech, you look at the schedule, they lost to Central Florida at home. They must not be any good. Yada, yada, yada. They set us up. Iowa State walks into a absolute hornet's nest and comes out with the big victory. So, which I'm down with. I wanted Kansas to win. I don't want Bill Self coming off of losses in any scenario, and I'm all about drama at this point. I want to be entertained.
Yeah.
And Wednesday night's going to be a hell of a game, a hell of a build-up between Iowa State and Kansas. You're going to have two top 10 teams. So that's exactly how I wanted this weekend to play out, my man.
I totally agree. I thought it was, TJ's had a lot of good wins. I think that's right up there with one of his best as the Iowa State head coach, and I don't say that lightly. It was a lot of things going against you. Tech played very well, by the way. I mean, Tech is good.
You're damn right they did. I would imagine that their coach is pissed about the loss, but he probably feels better about his team after
100%. 100%. That freshman guard was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He's big time. And then, Williams didn't play great, thankfully, and then he missed the game winner. But I was super impressed with Tech. That was a high-end game. I mean, I saw that the whole thing was really fun. I mean, it was well played. I thought officiating was largely pretty good, honestly. And then Fran and Hollenbeck are great, or Hollenberg were great.
Yeah,
it made it feel like a traditional big time Big 12 game.
We're all big Fran Fraschilla fans, but it really, there's something special when the guy's been calling the league games he just has such an intricate knowledge of all these programs, which is just awesome. And I know like the Big 12 they recognized him at the tournament a couple years ago. I remember really, really cool. And you really you don't watch him and get the sense that he's like a homer for one team or another. He just generally knows the league, which is great. He was pointing out stuff about Chatfield and the screens that was awesome.
Yeah. And he's
a lot of great insight.
For sure. And he does his homework. Like he goes to practice during the off season. Yeah. He's constantly around, and you can tell. So I thought just really, really impressive couple hours. That was fun. That was what college basketball is all about.
When I called the tournament in Orlando 2 Thanksgivings ago, Fran was he was coaching for USA Basketball 3-on-3, and he had an event in Tampa. And he flew into Orlando just so he could come and watch Iowa State a couple of games and do some scout, because he sat next to me.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
and we just chatted it up, and he's a great dude. But that's the type of work that he puts in. He's all over the country, like you said, going to these practices.
Lucky to have him, for sure. Christian, that game reminded me of actually was it was probably 10 years ago now when Iowa State won at Oklahoma State with DeAndre Kane and Monte, that triple overtime game where it felt like you were going to lose.
Who was their McDonald's All-American that played for 10 years?
It was LeBrian Nash.
Yes, that was it. And he never was really as good as we thought he would be.
No, he was like, this guy's going to be great. And then Marcus Smart was on that team as a young Marcus
Nash.
Smart.
Thank you for that,
Nash, yeah. But I just, you were up against the ropes for almost the whole game. I mean, Iowa State. Keaton Page. Well, they had back-to-back. Keaton Page and then who's the other little guard? Oh, it's going to drive me nuts.
Little light guard.
Yeah, they had was it Forte?
Yes.
Forte, yes.
And Forte was I want to say he was the high school teammate of LeBrian Nash. Am I wrong?
I think there was
Forte something was, like that, and he ended up being better.
Forte was pre-Page, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, okay, so I'm sorry. I totally derailed your thought. This was a big win, program win.
I want to. Who was the coach for Oklahoma State?
Travis Ford.
Travis Ford, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Those were
and those were the Oklahoma State teams were always can they beat Kansas? Will they snap Kansas's streak? They're the one team that can do it.
Talk about a program that's fallen off the face of the earth, by the way. My goodness, Oklahoma State.
Well, they kind of got screwed in that whole Adidas thing.
They did.
Kansas didn't even get,
You're right.
Nothing happens to them, and then we're going to pummel Oklahoma State. I mean, in their defense, let's be real here.
That's true. They did get hosed. They absolutely did. And then they hosed up the Cade Cunningham thing. They went all in on him, and they only had 1 year. Anyway, Enough about Oklahoma State. But what I thought
Weird
was,
lead today.
Yeah, I just thought Iowa State. That was another grown-up win. I mean, that's what it was. You did not led really at all in the entire game. You have to make big plays late, and it doesn't get talked about. But Joshua Jefferson's free throws were unbelievable. Like, that is a huge, huge moment. And he continues to just, man. It's a fun conversation. Like Fran pointed out, who's Iowa State's best player? I don't know right now.
No,
and that's a really cool conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you can. All three of those guards. It's kind of been a topic since Settles brought it up on the game against Utah.
Yeah.
And they just all complement each other so well. It's like, I don't know if Curtis is Curtis without the other two. I don't know if Keyshawn is Keyshawn without the other two. It's an impossible conversation to have.
And I'm throwing Joshua up in that same impact mix right now too.
Well, I pointed this out to Rob in our post game show. By the way, everybody should be listening to those. Put it on your calendar. Like, if you're ever going to start like getting a game day routine, we are live 30 minutes before every men's and women's game, all across social media. YouTube's the best place to do it, but you can do it on Twitter and Facebook as well. And we are also live immediately following these games. So we're trying to become a part of your game day and enhance your game day, and there's never been a better time to do it when the team's ranked second in the country. So help us spread the word on that. But they drop a play at the end of the game for a big.
Yes.
You have those guards, and you're going to a big, right? Like, great play call by Schmitty as well. It took free throws, but that was a really, really beautiful inbounds play, and it certainly didn't feel like JJ was going to miss either, right?
No, he was just right on the money.
Rock solid.
I think you're right. Great point. Iowa State ran its offense through Jefferson for most of the game, and that's a luxury that Iowa State hasn't been able to do with a big since Royce White. Yeah. I mean, George Niang, I guess, but George
is like a pseudo big.
Yeah,
he was technically big, but I don't really consider him one.
Agreed. But that's the fun part is Iowa State can just beat you. I mean, Keyshawn didn't play great. Milan didn't play great, and Nate didn't play great offensively, and yet you still score 85 and you win the game against a really good team. I think Texas Tech's really good. So I would be surprised, C-Dub, if they lose another game on that home floor this year.
Let's look just real quick at their schedule and see where this Tech team's going to go from here. So they go to Kansas State on Tuesday.
Poor Tang.
Yeah, we'll get to him in the Whipple's Hybrids Big 12 segment.
Cyclone Jim Carrey broke Jerome Tang.
They get Arizona at home on Saturday. That would be maybe the best. That and Iowa State, West Virginia are probably the best games on Saturday. And then they at Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, TCU. That's a team that could go on a 5-game win streak.
Yeah. Yeah, I would buy stock in Texas Tech. I just really like their guards. The Hawkins kid was super impressive.
He was insane.
Yeah, they are small, though. I mean, that's going to be their issue. And Iowa State just really bullied them at times inside. And, I mean, look at the points in the paint in that game, C-Dub. It was wild. It was like double.
Yeah. Iowa State currently with the nation's longest active win streak at 11. And Auburn needs, really a real prayer to escape that game at South Carolina. And now we have to talk about their guy Johnny going down with what looked like a bad injury. I haven't seen an update on that.
It was X-rays were negative, so he'll miss a couple games, though. It was a pretty significant ankle injury.
Well, that's good. I certainly didn't want him to have shattered ankle and be out. Real quick.
Would I love Iowa State to be ranked first? Absolutely, but it's college basketball's better if that guy's around.
They do have a decent little schedule coming up. They've got Mississippi State at home.
Okay, that's tricky without Broom.
Correct. They've got to go to Georgia on Saturday, which could be tricky as well, and then they get Tennessee. So it'll be really interesting to see Broom's status as far as those 3 games go. Auburn could take some licks here and, potentially open that door for – it doesn't matter. You and me can't sit here and just talk about how polls are stupid and then when favor us.
For sure.
that these polls don't matter, but it would be awesome to have the number 1 next to Iowa State for a while, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's never happened before in football or basketball.
Let's go then.
So
I'm all about first times here.
Yeah, we're in with this team. This is stuff that hasn't happened before. Everybody, I'm going to start running the numbers. I don't think Iowa State's been 14-1 before. That Niang Smart team, Niang Kane team was, I think, started 13-0. Maybe it was 14-0. So this hasn't happened very often. And now Iowa State's 4-0 in the Big 12, by the way, which is a phenomenal start to conference play.
The Kansas game coming up on Wednesday night, you're looking at probably a 5 to 7 point favorites, I would project for Iowa State.
That is going to be an absolute slugfest. Kansas has really bounced back. They
were in a coma for the first half at Cincinnati and then woke up and really pounded that team in the second half.
I am glad Iowa State has Jackson, Chatfield, and Jefferson now when you play those guys, because Dickinson is still a problem, and he's really good. And if they make shots, and they didn't really make shots yesterday, but they have really stepped up defensively, Kansas isn't going anywhere. They're going to be right there, I think, at the end. I do think Houston and Iowa State should be that tier above, but that's by no means a gimme on Wednesday.
Did I ruin Cincinnati last week when I challenged you? It was just an open conversation, but I every time I've watched them, I'm just like, I don't know if they're good or not.
Well, and we made the comparison last week that they're like Iowa State from a couple years ago, and they tried to do that by scoring 40 points in a game.
Oh,
so
that
bad.
was like pulling teeth, that Kansas. And it was funny, too, because it started at the same time as Iowa State, Texas Tech, and that game got over like 30 minutes before.
Yeah, yes. It was because I was watching both of them. Like, well, how did that game get all the way to the 3-minute mark?
It was wild. All right, let's dive into this Iowa State, Texas Tech team and just some of the specifics. First, thank Colin Newell, of course. If you need to, I would encourage anyone to look and save some money and go with our guy Colin Newell.
I have a meeting with him this week, maybe next week. He's gonna try and
save annual.
Yep,
annual
he's gonna try and save me some more dollars.
I got the same deal setting up. Yeah, I don't have my meetings set yet, but they're very persistent on saving me some money. I told you about the roof thing, right? They're like,
crazy.
Hey, they're going to save me some money on the roof. Colin Newell, Farm Bureau Financial Services. Bloom and I both use him. You should too. Also want to thank Chappie, Andrew Chaplin. He is our preferred real estate agent here on Williams and Bloom. Hunziker guy up there in Ames. And he's helped a bunch of our listeners now buy and sell homes. I was like, nobody's buying. Bullshit.
They don't care about those rates.
Well, no, and like the thing is, you have to move sometimes.
You have to move.
It's not like everybody can just sit and wait on the feds, the Federal Reserve. No, it's not how the real world works sometimes. Sometimes you get a divorce. Things happen.
Things happen.
Remember our guy, Chappie. I'd also like to encourage you. I'm excited because racing season is just around the corner. I have Flow Racing pulled up on my second
He's not joking,
computer screen.
guys.
I showed it to Bloom. The Wild West shootout is taking place down in Arizona, watching some dirt late models and the NFL playoffs at the same time. And I know that my guy, Jeff Kelderman at Kelderman Manufacturing, is fired up about that. He's a racer. Did you know that? He has street racing.
Oh, yeah.
He's got hot rods and takes them out there and but he's got all these badass videos of it, and all the cool stuff they do at Kelderman down in Oskaloosa. Go to the YouTube and type in Kelderman Manufacturing.
He's like that Dos Equis guy, like the most interesting man in the world. It's like, where's Kelderman at these days?
He is quite interesting. The takeaway again for me from this game is similar to many other games, and I feel like a bit of a broken record here, but it's what's so impressive about this team, Brent, and it's just when you don't necessarily have your A game and just guys stepping up for one another.
Exactly.
You see it again, right? Like in a night where you turn it over 15 times, which is really poor for Iowa State. It's like double what they normally do. You didn't shoot the free throw ball that well until the end when it really mattered.
Yep.
you really got beat up on the glass for a substantial part of the first half at the very least. To say that conservatively.
Yep. Toppin gave him a lot of issues early for sure.
Yeah, and the other team hit about 50% from three, which we kind of expected going into Lubbock. But all those things go against you, and I was talking to my dad right before we came on, and I said one of the things that I love about this, and I've had a lot of conversations with Otzelberger about this in the past, and but he believes it. Like, if we call timeout, our best defense is going to beat your best offense. And what is so much fun, and I don't think we can find this stat. I don't even know how to go about it. I would love to know when these Otzelberger teams absolutely have to have a stop, like at the end of regulation yesterday, when it's just like, if you don't get a stop here, the game's over.
Yep.
In those scenarios, how good is this Iowa State team? And that screams to me, like, because they weren't great defensively early, but they get better and better and better in adjustments, and you do these different things, and you benefit from Hawkins being in foul trouble and all these different things, but they just grind out a way and add it all together. And I agree with you. I think it's one of the best wins since TJ's been here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a ranked win, but gosh, there were so many things that could have gone against Iowa State. Honestly, like, thank goodness that those 90% free throw shooters each missed a couple free throws, by the way.
Yeah, you got some breaks.
You got some
and
breaks.
That's what it takes sometimes.
Yes,
Kansas
absolutely.
got a lot of breaks over the years when they were winning championships, folks.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's the great part but you take advantage of it. And really good point. I would love to go back and chart Iowa State's points off after timeouts. Even in that first half when, you're down 10, 12, you hung around with some of those specialty plays. And that's something I wanted to mention because it was pretty noticeable yesterday because it's Iowa State preps this way. Iowa State has an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. It's one of the only basketball staffs that I know that does this. And TJ, to his credit, is a great delegator. Like, even late in that game, it's Schmidt drawing up the play. I mean, that takes almost no ego to do. Like, you cannot have an ego, and TJ doesn't. I mean, that's why the guy is really good. And Nate drew up some, the Jefferson stuff was all set up, and Iowa State took advantage of those specialty situations and needed every single point. So I thought the coaches did a nice job as well, along with the players. And when you go down there, C-Dub, if you would have told me you turn it over 15 times and only make 6 threes,
yeah,
I'd be like,
rough.
Nope. That's not going to end well. But where Iowa State had to attack them and did was, and really tried early with Gilbert, and he got him in foul trouble at the very least, but really attack the rim. And that's going to be Tech's problem this year is they're going to be overmatched some days. And Iowa State, to their credit, kept at it. And even when the shots weren't falling, what I liked about Iowa State is they didn't keep forcing it up there. I mean, they really made an effort to go inside. I'm going to guess in college basketball anymore, 17 threes attempted in a game is about as low as it gets. Iowa State just didn't keep chucking. They went at it and found the easy points, and that's a credit to the players and coaches to do what works.
Really loved I'm really loving, I guess I should say, this kind of like new version of Taman Lipsy too, where, we said this early when maybe, we just need to get used to him not having to be one of the like 3 leading scorers.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be.
And he only takes 5 field goal attempts yesterday, but has just like a massive impact on the game, specifically at the end of regulation.
What a play. What a play.
I mean, that was one of the best plays that Iowa State will have all year.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was for him to pull that off at that speed, and then he goes crashing into the stanchion too. Like, I was like, "Oh, get up, Taman!" Awesome play.
That's what he does. He just hits the deck.
And then we got to mention him. The guy's just been awesome. Brant Chatfield.
Yes.
Just how about this? How about this stat? This would blow people away if you consider the heat that he was getting by some of the fan base.
Oh my God! Dude's in one of our text group, out of control.
He's 6th in the conference in offensive rating right now.
That's insane.
Because
that's insane. He really didn't do much in the non-con. That's what's funny.
No, but he just doesn't. He doesn't do anything wrong.
Give me Chatfield Give me this Chatfield in that Auburn game. Iowa State wins by 7 or 8.
Oh, it's an interesting point. Yeah, because they got beat up inside for sure. No, I think he was the closer. I mean, it was Heisey fouls out and they brought Chatfield back and it went super big. So that guy's been so fun. I'm so happy for him. He's a neat kid, and just really, really glad that he's had this impact. And I thought Fran did a nice job back to Fraschilla of highlighting him and the impact he has. I mean, he is right now. I mean, you can't keep him off the floor, and that's a credit to. It's not a knock on like Momcilovic or some of those other guys. It's Brant's been so good, and then his defensive play. He had the one defensive play where he challenged the big guy who looked like he had a free layup. I think that was a potential game saver as well.
You mentioned Momcilovic, and so this is why I just gave him his flowers last Saturday.
Yep.
When they beat Baylor, because I'm sensing this tone where on the boards and definitely on Twitter and just people texting me during these games of I don't know if I say probably a lack of understanding as to why in some of these games he's not out there.
Yep.
As much down the stretch. And, specifically, Heisey yesterday plays 31 minutes, was 1 of 6 from the field, had 1 air ball, he had a bad missed layup, and those are the things that stand out. But the guy also has 9 rebounds. How many of those were on the offensive glass? A lot. I don't know. 3 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
How would you explain that to fans? Because I know I can, but I've said it before.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we can get this. It's not just him, right? It's like Deshaun Jackson as well. He goes 4 or 5 from the field, 8 points, and only plays. How many minutes did Deshaun play? 13. Like that. But do you remember, guys? Go back and listen to the podcast that I did with Otts in the preseason. He did project this. He said we're gonna play more lineups than we've ever played before since I've been at Iowa State, and that's dating back to Greg McDermott. And we're seeing it come to fruition here. It's not always going to be a Heisey game. Sometimes it's going to be a Momcilovic game. It's not always going to be a Chatfield game. Sometimes it'll be a Jackson game, right? But that's why we love this team so much.
Exactly.
Because these coaches, have the ability to play a little bit of chess out here with all the different cool pieces that they have. How would you explain it to the fans asking those questions?
I think for at least yesterday, I mean, every game's different. I mean, this is the thing. It's, yes, Momcilovic is a great player, and he's a great scorer. But yesterday, the best value that Iowa State needed was somebody to guard Darian Williams. And Nate Heisey did an awesome job of guarding Darian Williams. Look at his
terrible game for him.
Yeah, I mean, he was
5 of 14.
5 of 14, 3 of 11 from 2. I mean, Nate did it, and then Nate is a great rebounder. I mean, again, if Milan's guarding him, I say this comfortably, Williams has a lot more points than he does, and then the game's out of reach at that point. The issue for Iowa State yesterday was not finding what it wanted offensively or scoring points. Iowa State knew the plan was to go inside and really attack inside, and Iowa State was getting what it wanted most of the day. Yes, would you like Milan to make a couple threes? Absolutely. Like, I am pro him shooting the ball, but I think the value add yesterday was more for Nate's defense and rebounding than Milan's offense yesterday, and that's sometimes the equation that you have to play. Milan's getting better on defense. He's much better than he was a year ago, but Nate's an all Big 12 defensive guy. Like, the guy is just super solid. He does everything well. He doesn't need the ball, and that's just the other thing. Iowa State has enough guys. It's the same reason Taman isn't shooting as much. Like, you don't need these high volume guys to be out there when you have Kurt playing as well as he was, as Jefferson's playing as well as he was. I want those guys shooting the ball. And that's where I just think it just comes down to it's not as simple as defense over offense, but reality it's just kind of what do you need in that given game. And you're going to see it Wednesday. That's a game that, you could see Milan score 20 again. Like, this is the neat part. Depending on the matchup, Iowa State has options, and that's a good problem to have.
Especially in this conference.
Yeah.
Where we're just the other thing, too, when you watch these games, the conference is so different now without the 10
Yes.
round.
Yes.
The styles, right? Like, I felt like 2-3 years ago when we were still at the 10, it was just like every night you're seeing like a different, like a similar
That's a good
version.
point. Yeah, they were all grinders.
Yeah, like it was like a bunch of pro style offenses or a bunch of air raid or whatever you want to call it. It definitely wasn't air raid. It was probably like we're trying to run the wishbone in 2000.
It's like everybody had 17 tight ends.
Well, now like it's why I think Iowa State might be in the best position to win the league, just from a sheer roster standpoint. I'm sure there's somebody out there with a better schedule than I don't know any
I think
of that.
Houston. Yeah, I mean, Houston still is the favorite via Vegas.
I'm just saying, like, but even like Houston, like you kind of know you're going in for a root canal every time you play them, and like if the officials are calling it tight, like right, they're a little more limited. When and I will full disclosure, Saturday was probably the first day that I've taken in as much Big 12 basketball as I did. I've watched a lot, but not. And the difference in the teams is quite stark. It's stylistically.
Yeah, great point. I mean, when you bring in honestly average defensive teams like Colorado, Arizona State, UCF, whether they were better last year. I don't know what their story is. It's a weird team. You're
really
right.
Weird team.
And then Cincinnati can't Cincinnati can't score right now. So yeah, it's when you have more teams, you've got different ways to attack, and it's not the same situation. The other thing that I watched a lot of basketball yesterday too, C-Dub, what I thought was Iowa State just looks as physically developed as about any program in America. And they're old. Mm-hmm. This is the plan all along.
It looks like Auburn, right? And Houston has always given that vibe.
Yeah, but Iowa State is just watch. Like I was watching some of the Duke game. I'm like, yeah, Duke's really good. Duke looks young. Iowa State looks old.
I would love a crack at Duke. I think those boys could learn something.
I think that would be fun. I would love to see who guards Cooper Flagg. I think you let Jefferson handle it. But no, I think Iowa State has so many weapons here and physically imposing that it's a problem for teams when you have to play against Iowa State. And so yeah, I think that is the great thing with this team is even though you're only playing 8 guys, you do get a lot of minutes spread out, and so like a Deshaun Jackson should be pretty fired up and ready to go. I mean, you don't have to worry. Think about TJ's team 3 years ago. That team really wore down, or 2 years ago too, as the season went on.
Honestly, Brent, every TJ team has.
That's true. You're right. Even last year. Yeah.
I mean, that team that went to that first team that went to the Sweet 16, didn't they lose like 4 in a row?
Yeah, they almost missed the tournament.
Yeah.
They had to beat Baylor. Anyway. Yes.
That was after Grill
leaves.
Or
that was 2 years ago.
And everybody's just burying them at that point. Oh, this is a disaster.
And then they
win that game.
Baylor and Conrad played.
Beat up our guy Scott Drew.
That's right. And then turned around and beat him again in the tournament.
Scott Drew hates this version of Iowa State, I can promise you. They have not had any success against Iowa State.
That's the thing is Iowa State just looks the part, and I think that says something. Like when I was in Maui, Iowa State looked as physically impressive as any of those teams there, and that included UConn and North Carolina and Memphis and all those big-time programs, Michigan State. And I think that's carried over, and so you're going to be fresh down the stretch as well. One thing I wanted to add on Momcilovic, I would like some constructive feedback from me. I would like to see him in the post a little bit more, just some design stuff, just to get
especially
him.
when the offense is stuck.
Yeah,
like it was
just
in
to
the first half.
I don't know. I mean, I think he's a really talented. Even that mid-post stuff. But sometimes to me, it feels like it's either all threes or nothing for him. When I think Iowa State could maybe design a couple plays just to get him going. He seems to be a player that once he hits his first couple, it can snowball. I would like to see Iowa State have a concerted effort to get him involved early in the post against Kansas. Just my 2 cents.
I agree. When you have that guy, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I completely understand why a lot of these fans are like, why the hell isn't this guy playing? But I agree with you. It's like Heisey could, I mean, when's the last time he hit a 3? Like, it's been a while, but he's doing a lot there that probably isn't necessarily showing up in the box score every 100%. Time. And it's good to have the different tools in the toolbox.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Iowa State is not 14-1 without that.
That was a game.
The Iowa game too. I mean, you're losing that game if you don't have Heisey coming off the bench.
You got it.
To play defense.
I think that's the Iowa State loses this game 3 years. The last 3 years, they did not have the depth that this team has, and they would not have been able to weather that flurry from Texas Tech, who did it a couple times. I just think this team's really tough too. That's the other part is they are. I remember TJ telling me this summer, he's like, I think we're good. He goes, I don't know if these guys are tough enough. But they've, summer was hard on some of those guys, some of those newbies. They learned what it takes to be in the TJ program, and that's why you go through all that crap in the summer, the hard stuff, because it makes January games in Lubbock, a little bit easier to handle.
A couple other notes before we get to our Whipple's Hybrids Big 12 segment. Want to thank our friends at the Ivy College of Business. You see their pre-roll ad before we come on via YouTube. Also, I would like to give a shout out to our friends at Ames Lager in Westo. Go out and support. We're asking you to drink beer to support the team, for God's sake. It's not hard. I mean, this is not difficult.
Grab a We Will pizza while you're out there too.
Well, I do. I swear to God, I do this. Because I'm not drinking a ton of beer right now. Okay, like I really am in my Cody Road era. Like I'm not. I like the beer. Trust me. It's just I don't want to be fat. That's all it is. Every time I
love your beer, but
yeah. Every time I see an Ames Lager at Fairway, I pick one up. I just do it because instead of having Busch Light here when my idiot friends come over, they drink Ames Lager now. That's all we're asking you to do.
And you got the number
for
2.
For God's sakes, spend $10.99 and buy some frickin' beer. It's not that hard. And then you're the second-ranked team in the country. That's all you have to do.
Football team won 11 games, and the basketball team second-ranked in the country.
Just buy some more beer.
I mean,
that's all we're asking.
The direct correlation between Ames Lager and Iowa State's success is not.
Am I wrong? Buy the beer. It's not hard, people.
No,
I don't care if you don't drink it. Somebody's going to. Unless you're a recovering alcoholic, and then I think we're probably going to ask you to just, hey, maybe you can buy the We Will pizza instead.
Yeah, or we've got the beef jerky, we've got popcorn now. So, there's other
The coffee
options.
did really good. That
the
was
coffees.
a good
coffees.
move.
Yeah, still have the coffee.
I really enjoyed the coffee. That was a good pull.
While we're on...
I don't even know who made that, but I bought 2 bags of it, and it was lovely.
So, I'm in pre-event planning mode. So I secured some awesome auction items this week. Can I show you one? Hold on.
I would love to see some auction items, which is coming up in our recruiting party, or I don't even know what the hell we call it anymore. It's the signing day event. Well, look at that. He's got a helmet. Brent has a helmet. Oh, nice. Yes, that's the black Scripps Cyclones helmet. That's beautiful.
Anyway, I got like 12 of those.
Hey, by the way, the guy who did that, you need to give me the number because he's going to make something for me.
I got it for you.
Okay. Yeah, me and him were cutting some deals.
Yeah.
In Orlando, and he's going to make me a couple of a Vikings helmet and a Cyclone. He was going to make me the Clonado.
Look at that.
Oh, look
it's
at that.
Like
that's
legit. It's got everything on there.
That's beautiful.
So we got some of these for that will be available for auction.
That's gorgeous.
On February 5th, everybody.
I had a funny auction story. My guy Austin down with the Clorinda A's. So the Clorinda A's, I don't even want to give this away because it's such a hidden gem, but I love the Clorinda A's so much that I want to give them some love. So they have their banquet every year, their Hall of Fame banquet where Ozzie Smith's there, Von Hayes is there. It's like this.
They what was like a independent professional summer
it's
league?
a semi-pro wooden bat
Semi-pro.
league.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically colleges from all over the country send their players to play in wooden bat leagues all over the country in their off season, which is the summer. Clorinda, Iowa has had one for 75 years, and it's a huge deal to my hometown. But they have this banquet every year, and because of Ozzie and all the connections that the Eberle family has created over the years, they have these incredible silent auction items that
all in Clorinda.
But there's only so many people there, so you can get insane Remember, like last night, they had a Pete Rose signed jersey. They had a Joe Montana jersey, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, Randy
Jeez.
Moss, Caitlin Clark. Last year, I bought a signed baseball that has Greg Maddux, Chipper Jones, Bobby Cox, and John Smoltz and their Hall of Fame enshrinements on them. Like, this is just like they have other, like, they had a Ricky Vaughn signed jersey. Which I almost bid on that, but I'm like, I can't just keep buying this shit because I don't have anywhere to put it. I don't have that big of an office anymore. It's like
There's always
my
room
wife's
for a
gonna
Rick
kill
Vaughn,
me.
Rick Vaughn jersey.
Yeah, but like, so last night, and this is a problem. I'm, because they're a 501(c), just like you guys are, and this is charity, right? I'm giving to charity here.
That's right.
And I'm about 15 Ames lagers in. And I'm sitting there just like, I got a proxy. My guy Austin's at the banquet for me. He's my proxy, and I'm bidding on like 16 things. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go up to 300 here. All right, let's do this. Let's do that. It was a very dangerous situation. And I didn't win anything last night. I pulled the plug. I wanted that Moss jersey so bad.
What did that end up going for? Do you have any idea?
I'm
guessing you put in a couple $100 for it, I would guess.
Yeah, it went for like $550, but that's still like the guy's
That's
got cancer and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the Jefferson went for like double that, believe it or not. But like, yeah, like you can get these incredible items that if you took any of those items to your deal at We Will, triple the price.
Triple the price, yeah.
Because of the people that are there, the amount of more people and like who's bidding on it and stuff. In Clarinda, it's like some of this stuff won't even get a bid.
That's great.
I did get one thing. I got a Chris Dolman signed. Remember Chris Dolman
Old
from
Viking?
the Vikings?
Old Viking,
56.
Yeah.
Got that coming to me. So, anyways, little fun Iowa story there.
Yeah. So anyway, I hope to see everybody there. We still have a lot of tickets available. So let's. By the way, the portal.
How do you buy those tickets?
WeWillCollective.com. Go to events, and it's right there. And again, I want to talk about a little bit the portal activity. I think for Iowa State is, it's slowing down. Football wise, though, C-Dub lost just on Yedem, which is great. So thank you, everybody.
Pretty good offseason as far as the retention thing goes. I mean, probably about as good as it could have gone.
And then, here's the thing. There is another portal in April, and I don't say that to scare people, C-Dub. I actually say that, I think
it's an opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity, and if we – and again, it's not the only factor here, but the more we can have in the pot before April, the easier it's going to be to get a couple difference makers after spring ball. So that's the events is a big reason how you can help that, and then just generally just supporting, buying that Ames Lager, all that good stuff. So thank you, everybody. Literally, I am having an awesome time with this basketball team because literally, guys, you all made this happen. Like you did. I mean, this team, 71 of Iowa State's 85 points yesterday were scored by transfers in this NIL era. So that says something about Iowa State's fan support and how we've been able to make this thing happen. So well done, everybody.
On the football note, now I'm going to pee in your Cheerios.
Yes, please.
That Texas-Ohio State game was at a totally different level of anything else we've seen in college football this year. As far as like the size and the speed, oh my God.
That was an NFL game. I mean, there was it's crazy.
And I do think, and this is where I think everybody needs to have a real conversation of like the future and like this. When I say like I think Iowa State's best days are ahead of it, I do. I think they're going to win 8, 9, 10 games more often than not.
Yeah.
Now, I think Iowa State will have a chance to win Big 12 championships almost every year. That doesn't mean you will. I think you're going to have a chance. Just like this year. You had a chance, couldn't get the job done. That happens in sports. I think that what I'm seeing right now, and I think here's the good and the bad. There's more parity in this sport than ever.
Yeah, that's
right.
Fact.
There is more parity in the sport than ever. Alabama's suddenly very touchable. Georgia is not. There's more parity. However, we are getting some of these super teams that it's just like I don't know. Look at I don't know if it's realistic, but I say that, and Arizona State probably should have beaten Texas, right? So maybe I'm just talking in circles here. But man, all I'm saying is that game blew me away. That was an incredible couple of teams full of specimens there.
And I think what you've seen for those teams that made the Final Four is their offense and defensive lines are all elite.
Yes.
I mean,
Absolutely.
we've always said skill guys. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Ohio State has a bunch of skill guys. Texas has a bunch of skill guys, but where they make up the difference, why has Texas grown so much in the last 3 years? Their offensive line got a lot better, and their defensive line got a lot better from the days when Iowa State was kicking their ass. So that's that you're right, and everybody knows that, and it's a race to get the best talent on the offensive and defensive lines. And C-Dub, that's exactly the problem we're running into right now in the portal. Just to be quite frank, those guys command a pretty penny because people watch. It's a copycat game, and people see Ohio State and Notre Dame and Texas and Penn State all with these monsters up front, and that's how you get better in this sport. It's not the sexiest thing, but I mean, watch the NFL playoffs. Look at the teams that are good in that. They have a great offensive and defensive lines. I mean, it's a pretty simple game at the end of the day. Who are you rooting for, by the way?
I hate both of those schools. I was rooting for Penn State.
I kind of like Marcus Freeman, though. Does that make me weird?
No, I would probably pick Notre Dame between the two.
Yeah.
I have 3 cousins that went to Penn State.
Okay.
So I have like pseudo adopted them as my Big Ten team, and I'm close with these cousins. Like I like them. I talk to them a lot, and I officiated a wedding for one of them, and her husband is like a just nutty Penn State fan. Like they do the huge, kind of like what we are, honestly, like with Iowa State. So yeah. I've kind of adopted them, and I was really because I thought that they were better than Notre Dame. I thought they should have won that. I really don't care. Notre Dame fans are so annoying to me but Ohio State, like, I mean, I don't want them to win either.
Yeah,
I'll pick the annoying fans, I guess, over Ryan Day. I don't know.
Ohio State's like the Miami Heat super teams. I mean, that's really what they are.
Yeah, I do like Freeman. I agree with you. That's a cool story how they lost that game to Northern Illinois and, rallied the troops to get to where they are. It's just we have to look at this sport differently too. Like it does matter who the hot team is, and it does matter what your draw is.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right. I mean, Oregon got absolutely bent over.
Unfortunate. That's a great point. I mean that'll be a topic of conversation all offseason.
It's a lot like the NCAA tournament, though. Like these are not the 2 best teams.
Yeah,
do you think that Notre Dame is the first or second best team?
Man,
maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Best resume, no, but
they're playing
really well. Like they're not making mistakes. I guess
I'm not even being critical, Brent. I'm just saying we have to think of it differently.
I understand. I mean, and they beat Georgia and they beat Penn State. I mean, those are 2 impressive wins. I don't know. I think Ohio State. This is who they should have been all along. I mean, that team. How did they lose to Michigan? I will never know. But
these Michigan fans are just so pissed too. It's so.
Now, if you're a Michigan fan and they win the national title, will you still hold it over them though, right?
But you can still say like, "Hey, you still couldn't beat us."
Yeah. So they're winning either way on whenever that game is. Now, that's a really good point about there are some teams that have the ability to, I mean, not buy a team because you everybody has the same ability to do that. What I think could happen, though, Seed, up to your point, is these programs that rise, that they are the elite of the elite, the guys that if pay is the same, they're going to go aggregate where the talent is.
I wonder too, though, if we'll see it, and probably not, but I am curious how much of an advantage you have in the portal when you're not in the playoff. When you have that bye.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it truly doesn't matter. I don't really know.
Well, and
I just think it's interesting to talk about.
The other part here is, Notre Dame and Ohio State, when their season ends, those guys still have time to get into the portal.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there's not, like, the shopping time is.
They don't have they can't shop.
And if you get surprised, like, did Georgia get surprised by probably not, but like
It's an interesting point for sure. Yeah,
It's not like the NFL and Major League Baseball where it's just like, all right, free agency, go get them.
Yeah, you guys can't participate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's the whole schedule is so messed. The thing
Why
is
we
just
love
messed
this
up.
sport though, because it's just
the
so insane.
It's the dumbest sport, but it's the best sport. Yeah, it's a really good point. I am anxious to see if Notre Dame or Ohio State loses. Like Ohio State's going to lose people because those guys that don't play. I mean, honestly, that's something to keep an eye on for Iowa State because Iowa State obviously recruits Ohio quite heavily. I could see them definitely looking into some of those backups at Ohio State and say, hey, you want to go play? Come play here.
I think that'll be a thing more than not. It's just what'll be interesting. You pointed out the lines. Like I've said this before, and I still don't think I've been proven wrong. Like I think that there's a lot more guys like Rocco Beck out there who are a really good quarterback that could be good at. Rocco Beck could be a good quarterback at Notre Dame, and he could be a good quarterback at Iowa State. Like, there's just not that many like really good linemen across the board, that's where I feel like I think that the talent at skill positions will be more spread out than ever, and it's going to allow for some great upsets during the regular season. But I think that like the front seven man on defense, like you're going to see these guys like on these super teams, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
The great thing is those schools had the advantages before too. It's just it wasn't money. It was just you went there and you couldn't leave at that point. So no, it's something to keep an eye on for sure. On good news, we didn't mention it. We hinted at it. Iowa State did get a defensive end this week from Yale.
Yes.
Led the IABs in sacks, and guy grades out really well. Neat kid. I think he's going to play. He's going to play a lot, but. Clearly,
so we've got a guy from Yale and Princeton in the last 2 years.
They want to go to the Ivy College of Business. The real Ivy.
Dean Spalding, man.
Dean Spalding.
Like, we want to go to the best damn
the best
business
Ivy out
dean in the country. All right, Whipple's Hybrids Big 12 segment. We're going to take a real quick look at Big 12 basketball, and we would be remiss if we didn't lead with our guy, Coach Tang.
Tang, buddy.
Tough one. Tough one for our friends in Manhattan. It's just so easy. Kansas State lost to Houston.
Hey, could you
by 30 at home? The Octagon of Doom. They have now lost 6 of 7, which includes losses to Drake, Oklahoma State, Wichita State, TCU. It's a rough deal down there right now. And I was stupid. Like, remember last week on the show, I said that's their record, but I think they're probably better than that. We should plan on that. They're 118 in offense, 111 in defense. They're just not very good. I will stand corrected.
And now those guys appear to be mailing it in. They're in a bad spot for basketball. I mean, what do? They just gave Tang a monster extension, and you can't run it back.
Completely overpaid that guy.
You can't run it back. If you're a donor there, would you want to listen to Tang say we need more of your money? I'm sorry, Jerome. I did not get my return at all. In fact, I might have caused more problems because now you got guys that are overpaid and don't want to work. It's bad.
They're not guarding anybody.
They just don't. Yeah,
they are 289th in 3-point defense right now.
They don't play hard. It's bizarre. It's like they've cashed the checks and they've given up. And
I would like to know what that assistant coach who cussed out the Iowa State manager has to say. I would like an exclusive with him.
I mean,
now I can see all the media guys at Kansas State. You guys are still talking about that. That was a non-story.
Well, it clearly broke Jerome Tang, so maybe it was a story.
Cyclone Jim Carrey
broke Tang.
Absolutely destroyed the Kansas State men's basketball program.
Cyclone Jim Carrey, listener of the podcast, he wants to go to Manhattan. Should he go to Manhattan? I mean, they're so bad. They're so bad. It's like nothing's going to happen to him, right?
I am fully with people asking questions like that. Do it. Like this year,
Thinking
like
deep,
honestly,
yeah.
don't even
Yeah,
think about
Don't
it.
even think about it. Yeah.
Like,
Go to the
now
game.
don't do anything like fiscally irresponsible or like that's going to put your family in jeopardy. But if there's ever a year to be like, oh, I'm thinking about, yes, go.
Go. Yeah. You start making plans for the Big 12 tournament now.
Just go.
Just go.
Figure it out. Maybe you take one less family vacation in the
There you
summer. You know what? The kids are going to be fine. You got a lot more years to do that. I don't know when this is going to happen again.
Yep. That's a great point. And by the way, watching games away or road games is fun. You've called a bunch of them on the radio.
Oh, it's the best.
It is. Winning a road game is the best. Like when you're there, it's just really fun. Just go.
I will be at Arizona on Big Monday. I will be at Kansas the following Big Monday. And I plan to make it to Houston as well for the same reason. We have worked our asses off for 20 years doing this.
Yep.
One of my dear friends is the coach. I know all these kids. I'm going to be there. And our listeners and readers at Cyclone Fanatic deserve that for a team like this.
I love that. So real quick, odds to win the Big 12. Not a whole lot of changes.
Okay.
Not a lot of changes, but some changes. Houston still the favorite at 115. Iowa State now up to 135. And Kansas all the way back in third at 9-1. Arizona at 9.5 to 1.
Let me give you something real quick. I don't know how much to put into this. Are you a BPI guy?
Yes, I like Ken Palm better, but yeah.
Remaining strength of schedule. You put anything into that?
Yeah, I do.
So I'm just going to give you Kansas, Iowa State, and
Yeah,
Houston.
no, that's great. That's great.
Kansas 46,
Okay.
Iowa State 50,
Okay.
Houston 19.
Ooh. Okay.
Really skewed towards the SEC. This really thinks the SEC is better than the Big 12, whatever.
It's
like because you got like Auburn,
it's deep. SEC is deep.
Alabama, Tennessee. Those are all like the higher ranked.
And then Florida's really good, by the way.
Kentucky's, they're no
Better.
slouch.
Yep. Yeah.
Mississippi
A&M.
State, we already talked about them. Like they can beat you. Oklahoma's better this year.
Yeah. I think Oklahoma's
but
about to fall a little
Point
bit.
being,
yeah.
I haven't analyzed Houston's schedule. I'm just saying, if you're betting on it, maybe do you take that into account? I don't know. I think Houston's a bunch of dogs, though, man.
So,
They're nasty. Same Houston as last year.
They're scoring the ball too. I mean, I didn't know if they could without Shed, but they have been really impressive. I mean,
won 8 in a row.
Yeah, Iowa State's been great. I think Houston's been playing better right now. I mean, just quite honestly. I mean, Iowa State just won back-to-back Big 12 games by 20 and then won in overtime.
Yeah,
in
it
tough
doesn't
place.
feel like Iowa State has played like
great. Yeah, I agree.
There's more out there.
There's more. Which is encouraging. I think Houston is. I mean, they are at a elite level right now. Where I know Iowa State goes there. Houston does not come to Ames, which is a big help for Houston. Where does Houston play Kansas?
I've got their schedule right here. At Kansas on the 25th of January. So that's the same day Iowa State plays Arizona State.
Does Kansas go to Houston?
No.
Okay. Interesting. So the 3 best teams, they only...
Yes, they do. I'm sorry.
they do.
I missed that. March 3rd.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let's look at road games for Houston real quick. They do have to go to West Virginia.
Yeah, by the way, that's a tricky spot. I mean, this is tricky for Iowa State next week. That's going to be... They had a nice
It'll be
win
similar
today.
to this Texas Tech game.
They had a nice win today over Colorado.
They have to go to Colorado. They should win that. So Houston does have an Arizona swing.
Okay.
They go to Arizona and to Arizona State in February. And they play at Texas Tech, which could be, now that you talk about contrasting styles there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Houston's really good. Odds to make the Final Four. Weekly update. We're going to do this every week, everybody. Interestingly, this surprises me, but whatever. Duke is the favorite to make the Final Four at 1-1 right now. I would not do that. Auburn is 145 to make the Final Four. Houston's 230. Tennessee is 260. Iowa State, 5th. Best odds to make the Final Four at plus 270. So 2.7 to 1 for Iowa State to make the Final Four right now.
here's your weekly net update. Just gonna keep going. As long as it's fun to go through, we're gonna keep
we're
doing
gonna keep doing it.
Iowa State 6th in the net. Big 12, the only Big 12 team above them is Houston at 3rd. Iowa State, notably, this is interesting here. 4-1 in quad 1 wins games. Houston is 0-3 in quad 1 games.
Ah, that helps.
That does help.
Talk about seeding. Yeah.
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 Now they're 5-0 in quad 2, where Iowa State's 4-0 in quad 2. But that's interesting. That I don't understand this stuff enough. But like it's interesting that Houston is still ahead of Iowa State.
Yeah, it's all because
I don't
they just
really understand why.
They just destroy people.
So yeah, when again, like that's where, and you'll see TJ's aware of this.
Yeah,
some of these coaches genuinely, like TJ knows all this stuff. I promise you, he's obsessed with it. They were hiring Ken Pom as a consultant like 12 years ago at Iowa State. Okay, so they're all over this stuff, and that was because of TJ. It wasn't because of McDermott or Hoyt. Like TJ brought Ken into it. Point being, if Iowa State, let's say Wednesday night against Kansas, they're up by 8 with a minute to go, they will try and win by 11.
Yes, and it's the same reason, and we get it. We've heard it. I hear you. Like against Baylor and Utah, when Iowa State's up 25, they're not putting in the bench guys.
Why aren't you playing Watson? This is why. Like they're trying to win by as many points as possible.
It's not that they don't like those guys. I mean, clearly you'd love to play them, but margin of victory in this sport really makes a difference. And if you're talking about the difference in a seed, that's huge. Like a 1 seed or a 2 seed.
And it might be stupid too. Like we're not like, but it does matter if you win a game that the computer thinks that you're supposed to win by 8, and I think Houston was a 14-point favorite, and they won by 30. On the road. Yep. The computer loves that because they go, "Oh, you did twice as good as we thought you were going to do."
Yep, and it is silly, but that's why. That is why Iowa State is only playing 8 players for most games anymore.
And it's another reason why, yesterday, great win for Iowa State, but you barely budge in any of these things because you just barely outperformed what they thought. They thought you would win by a point,
and you did.
Correct. And also, this is why, like on those games where Brent and I are saying, well, let's look at what Vegas does when they set the trap for you. Well, that's why, because all of a sudden Iowa State goes off as a 3-point underdog. They were baiting us, and they got beat.
And to that point, C-Dub, I don't believe the metrics will allow Iowa State to get much higher than 4 in Ken Pom. I mean, the ceiling is what it is.
Yeah.
The strength of the schedule is not what it used to be in the Big 12 to really build that up. So just be aware of that, everybody. The polls are different than Ken Pom, than the analytics. I think Iowa State's cap is going to be right around 3 or 4. But that doesn't mean you're not going to be a 1 seed. Like, I don't get me wrong. Like, the polls still matter in that regard, and humans do make the bracket. But the data doesn't think the Big 12 is as good, and your Tennessees and your Auburns are going to continue to get those boosts from playing the really good teams.
They're in the position that Iowa State has benefited from in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, there is a world, everybody, where Auburn loses 4 games in the SEC, and Iowa State loses 1 in the Big 12, and Auburn could still be ahead of Iowa State in the Ken Pom. It's just the way the system is set up, whether it's fair or not.
As we noted last week, we said this is a big week coming up.
Yes.
With all these games, and this will continue to be a portion of the schedule where you can really do some damage.
Yep. If Iowa State can go 2-0 again this week, every week, go 2-0 every week, man, you are in really good spot.
I wanted 2-1 with Tech, Kansas, and West Virginia.
Totally.
You seem like you're in a really good spot to get that now.
Yep. And
then I want 2-1 from UCF, Arizona State, and Arizona. Right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
preferably not lose to UCF.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that game. Oof.
Arizona State right now would be quad 1. That would be a quad 1 win.
This is fun because now you're building. You're going to start getting more of that attention, and I'm looking at seeding wise. Iowa State is in an awesome spot to get a top 2 seed. I mean, it's going to be. Iowa State really have to struggle, in my opinion, the rest of the way to drop below a 2 seed. Just with the quality of the wins and the way the thing sets up. So
to your point too, like we went through this game by game last week. It is going to be hard to outperform this computer.
yes.
Like I mean, like let's look at the Kansas game. Okay, it's got you winning by 6. Like, man, if Iowa State wins by 8 we would all be just thrilled, right?
How good will you feel?
And the computer will kind of be like, that's all you got?
Congrats. Yeah.
Eh.
Damn
Like Central
computers.
Florida's coming to town. This computer has you winning by 19. You
And
know how
if you-
hard it is to
yeah,
win a
true.
Big 12 game by 19 points?
For a team that went in and beat Tech, by
So
the
you
way.
win it by
Yeah.
14, and the computer's like, oh, really? That's it?
Auburn would have done. Yeah.
Right? It's like arguing with your middle school daughter.
That's all you got?
So here we go.
What do you mean
Whipple's
I can't?
Hybrids Big 12 segment,
What do,
baby.
you, what do you mean I can't get a puppy?
I would highly suggest not getting a puppy right before football season, for what it's worth. Just speaking from experience. Seemed like a great idea at the time.
Yeah.
No, just real quick, Big 12 standings.
Yeah.
I mean, we better keep talking about Arizona, right? Like they've
Keep
been on
winning.
my radar for a while now. They are now 4-0 in the league. I did watch. Oh, that was great to have that as like the late night window. I mean, they've had a really impressive 4-game win though.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
wins at Cincinnati, at West Virginia. Central Florida is a team that we noted went in and won at Texas Tech, so they can beat anyone.
They're weird, but yeah.
And they've got a big week here. Like, here you go. Tuesday night, I'm setting a date for everybody.
Okay.
All right? Tuesday
doing?
night, 9 o'clock tip,
Ooh.
Arizona versus Baylor.
Oh. You know what? I didn't even think about that until just right now. We're going to have a lot more of these
Yes.
after dark specials.
So then Arizona's got to go to Texas Tech on Saturday. So
Ooh. Yeah.
we'll play the Cincinnati Are They Good game. I believe that they are. I don't think that this is the same conversation as Cincinnati, but Arizona, let's see where the metrics are with the old Ken Palm. I think they're like 15th, if I remember correctly. They are 15th. They are currently on a 6-game win streak after starting the season 4-5. However, every one of those losses were a quad 1
Yeah.
loss.
They are
Net ranking, though, Brent, 14th, because they do have the 2 quad 1 wins. So, hey, they're 2
they are definitely in the conversation. This is a great week for them. This is a big week for them for sure.
and their remaining strength of schedule is 20th compared to 45, 50, and 19th. So they're on the more difficult end of that.
That is a really good point by you about Iowa State's remaining schedule. I think, guys, if we can get through this month, and again, it's not easy. It's not easy, but
No, but
You're
if you
in-
get through this week, if you go 2-0 this week,
yep. Look out.
you're playing with house money.
Yeah.
Like you really are, because it. All right, let's say you lose at Arizona and at Kansas.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just throw it out there. I mean, you're looking at a place where how many 17-3 is likely where you end up in the Big 12. Like honestly, like just because I'm just going. Like, could you get
Home
picked
games.
off at absolutely?
Yep.
Could you lose? But like, I don't know. Like, I don't think they'll lose at Oklahoma State.
I don't think so.
I don't think they'll lose at Kansas State. A lot of these games, it's kind of like, well, you're a 19-point favorite in most of these home games. You're probably not going to lose them.
And then
This is a big week.
Then the
in
computers
terms of
would
that.
really hate those losses.
Yeah, you have a
Damn
lot more to
computer.
lose as far as that goes.
No, it's
but-
true. No,
All
it's,
right, well, good.
no, this is fun. I mean, this is we're clearly soaking it in because we've gone now an hour and 10 minutes. But this is what it's all about. Like I'm having a good time, everybody. I hope you are too.
I hope you are too. I'd like
Yeah.
you to go out and buy a bottle of Cody Road.
That's right. Please celebrate. accordingly.
All we're asking you to do is buy whiskey and beer.
That's it. That's it.
It's not that hard, people. Thank you, Brent. We appreciate you. Schedule for the week. We will be We didn't even bring up the women, by the way. Shout out to the
Oh,
women. I put out a
big win,
big
yeah.
tweet about
Yes,
them. They go
great
2-0 this week in Arizona. Had to have it. Big time job by them. But we do have all of our women's basketball coverage that you can. Chelsea Poppins and Leah Nelson are doing a great job with that. We'll be here for pregame. I'll be at Hilton, so it'll be 5:30. I think that's a 6:00 tip on Wednesday. So I'll be on at 5:30 from Hilton. We will have Kicking It with Jeff and Grant. The boys are going to let them cook at some point. I don't know when they're recording this week, but we have all of our great Cyclone Fanatic shows coming up.
Yep.
The rest of the week.
Shout out Sydney Harris. Big time game.
Huge.
Way to go, Sid. Big fan.
Great
of her.
job, Sydney.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Really nice young woman, too.
Yes,
From
she is
the
awesome. Yep.
couple times that I've had an opportunity to talk to her. He is Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. A little English taking you out here on your Sunday night podcast. We are presented, as always, by our friends at Mechdyne in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. Later. Have an awesome work week. And remember, your varsity basketball team at The Iowa State University, soon to be ranked second in the country.